Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I think we're ready to get started. My name is Heather, and I'm on the marketing team here at Eagle Eye Networks. Today's webinar is about how to get offsite cloud backup for your existing video surveillance system. Before we get started, just a bit of housekeeping. This webinar will be recorded and sent to all registrants following up from this webinar. And further reading material will also be provided in the email that we provide to you after the webinar. If you have any questions, feel free to type them into the Zoom Q&A box at any time, and we'll address them at the end of the webinar as well. Now I'll introduce your speaker for today, Mr. Jody Russell. Jody has over 16 years of security integration experience as a system installer, manager, service provider, and designer. His experience as an integrator provides a special lens through which to see the challenges inherent in any install and how to provide the best possible solution. Now with that, I'll hand it over to Jody for the rest of the presentation.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Heather. And thank you everyone for attending. I hope that you find this webinar on our cloud replication feature to be worth your time and to be very valuable for you moving forward. So just real quick, a little bit about Eagle Eye Networks. Mr. Dean Draco founded the company in 2012. We are currently #1 in cloud video surveillance worldwide, headquartered in Austin, Texas, and we have a pretty good footprint. We are a global company with customers all over the world. So very exciting times for Eagle Eye Networks, very exciting times for cloud video surveillance. So here's a short agenda on what we're going to be covering in today's webinar. We'll start with an overview of cloud video replication. We'll then talk about some of the benefits of replicating your video in the cloud, things to consider with VMS compatibility, how to set up that cloud video replication, and then we'll finish up with a little Q&A. So, cloud video replication. I love the name. I think it's a very powerful feature. I think that it's a very useful feature. We're going to give you the ability to have both your video both on premises and in the cloud. This may be because of regulatory considerations where you have regulations or policies that require you to keep video offsite for a specified length of time. May give you the ability to increase your retention. So you may have to comply with video retention regulations that you cannot meet with the finite hardware that you have with an existing on-premises system. So when you move that video to the cloud, it can be retained really indefinitely. We provide retention periods for up to 5 years. And then again, we can mitigate the local video loss concern. So if you're worried about your DVR or your NVR disappearing, growing legs, as we like to say in the industry, and walking away or being stolen, if you have to worry about your hardware failing or the cost of maintaining and keeping that hardware up to date all the time, you can talk about looking at a cloud replication, which allows you to store copies of your video in the cloud while it is also being stored on premises. So we're going to simplify the storage and management process of having your video on premises and in the cloud. With offsite cloud backup, you can protect against your video loss because you have it being stored locally where you're accessing it on premises, but it's also being stored in the cloud where you have access to it anytime from anywhere. And with our free mobile application, you can log into the system and access your video surveillance system irregardless of the network connections that you may be having to deal with between the on-premises site and your location. So you can access this video over your phone. You can access it on a browser anytime, anywhere, just with a simple login. Everything's encrypted for privacy. So we utilize AES encryption standards, and we make sure, according to our access control permission-based settings, as to which users have access to which video content. And there's no additional requirements. So you're not looking at having to buy more software. You're not looking at additional licenses, no operating system to maintain. When you move to the cloud, all of that stuff goes away. And now you're dealing with a system that is maintaining itself, updating itself, protecting itself in the cloud. A couple benefits of cloud video management. Obviously, cost savings. The cost of the hardware to maintain a large scale video surveillance system can get out of hand pretty quickly, especially when it gets to be past the 3 to 5 year lifespan. Now you're looking at upgrading hardware or replacing hardware. Those things aren't a consideration when you're dealing with the cloud scenario, because all of that hardware is being managed by us in the cloud, and it's not being applied towards your budgets or towards your capital expenses. Everything's managed securely, accessed securely. We provide remote maintenance. We provide flexible retention per camera. You have the ability to choose exactly how much video you want to store and at what quality you want to store that video. And then that will directly relate to how much you are going to budget for with your service payments. Everything is scalable and increased stability provided through the cloud because of utilizing the shared resources and the scalable flexibility of cloud infrastructure. We're able to provide the ability for you to grow your system, shrink your system, move your system around without you having to worry so much about the considerations of moving that hardware or the cost of adding to that existing hardware. And then because everything's being stored redundant across 3 servers within the data center, it increases the stability of the system, where we can make maintenance adjustments, feature releases. We can do them, simultaneously to you accessing the system because of the triple redundancy that we architecture that we utilize. Disaster recovery is very important for a scenario where you may have something that occurs at your location and the video is lost locally. If you're utilizing our cloud replication, then that video is already in the cloud and it's available to be recovered should you need it. So how to set up cloud video replication? This is a very easy process. It's something that as a sales engineer, we work with the reseller or the end user on both levels simultaneously if we need to. And we help determine, what is their existing system footprint like? What is the network topology? And then how can we best apply an Eagle Eye bridge to that existing system in order to get the cloud replication up and running? The 2 configurations that you see on the screen are our 2 recommended configurations, but there are a number of other possible configurations that you could do to still maintain the on-premises video system and have the off-site cloud replication through Eagle Eye Networks. So on the right, we're looking at the diagram of the 2 cameras connecting to a PoE switch, and then that PoE switch connecting in parallel to DVR, NVR, and the Eagle Eye bridge. And then we show the connections from the DVR, NVR to the client system, whether that's going to be a system sitting on the local network, accessing through client software to the DVR, NVR, or if there's a mobile application, that connection's happening from the DVR, NVR to those devices over the local network. And then to the right of that, you see the Eagle Eye bridge that's transmitting, showing the 2 streams of video that we're transmitting up to the cloud. Both of those streams of video are encrypted. One is a low resolution, low bandwidth requirement for the substream, and the other is that really nice high resolution encrypted video that you would utilize for your forensic video surveillance usage. And then, of course, we have that really cool looking cloud icon with the 3 server arrays inside of it. That represents our Eagle Eye Networks cloud with our redundant storage arrays. And from that cloud, you're accessing your video with your mobile device or with a browser. And that access happens anywhere in the world with an internet connection at any time that you need to have that access. To the left of that, you see a very similar setup. We've essentially only introduced a router between the connection of the Eagle Eye bridge or the existing DVR, NVR to the internet. So we can work with an existing network topology that includes something like a security-only VLAN. We can configure our WAN network interface on the Eagle Eye bridge to be both static or DHCP client. So it's very easy, almost a plug and play functionality to plug it into the existing network, plug it into the egress point out to the internet, and it just reaches out and starts talking to the cloud. And you can do that on the same VLAN that you may be connecting your existing DVR or NVR. The bottom two graphics are virtually the same, but I want to point out the one on the left just a little bit because it gives a little more detail on how that setup will probably be applied with your existing cameras on an existing camera network or security network. Your cameras are probably either already receiving DHCP address leases from a DHCP server, whether that's the existing DVR, NVR, or a DHCP server on the customer's network. And then we're simply connecting the CamLAN network interface port to that existing hardware. And we're going to help the reseller put that system on the same network schema that the existing system is on in order for it to be able to communicate with the cameras without interruption to the DVR or NVR's communications with the cameras. Connecting with an existing system. So that's, what we're talking about with this cloud replication feature is you have an on-site system that the customer may have already invested a good amount of money in, may be very comfortable with, may like certain features that are available to them with that system on site, but they need that video offsite for compliance or just simply for the ease of access, for the peace of mind of knowing that their video is being stored locally and offsite. It may be that one of the existing VMS systems don't have quite as robust a feature offering for cloud management and all of the benefits that you get from utilizing that cloud infrastructure and how you're interfacing and managing your systems may not be available for some of these other systems. And you probably recognize some of the names that we have listed here. That's one of the really powerful things about the video replication is that we can allow really any of these other systems without interfacing to them or requiring any sort of special API integration or programming or additional licensing on our part. We're going to work with cloud video replication regardless of the existing system you have in place, because really it comes down to camera compatibility with our cloud replication. We're going to utilize the same camera compatibility that we provide with our normal VMS application. And you can find that camera compatibility list on our website, een.com/cameras. We'll provide you with a list of all of the 2,500 plus, or maybe it's even up to 3,000 now, of different camera models and makers that we integrate with through our camera compatibility with OnViv conformancy. So the cameras are really the key to making the existing system work with cloud replication, not the VMS. But it is important to understand that, if you recognize one of the products that are listed here, and that's the system that you have at your office or at your business, you can still get into the cloud with Eagle Eye Networks utilizing our video replication. And we're not going to spend a lot of time, effort, money, or expertise on trying to figure out how to integrate to that existing Milestone, Genetec, or ExactQ Vision system, as an example, because we're going to be taking a look at the cameras, and we're going to make sure that the cameras are compatible and that they meet the criteria needed for providing triple streams of video so that we can pull the video that we want to get up to the cloud, and then we can still leave a video stream available for your existing on-premises system, and so that we're not interrupting that process. So I do want to also talk a little bit about BriVO. BriVO is a sister company of Eagle Eye Networks, worldwide leader in cloud access control. Very, very cool company, very, very cool products. They've been defining the cloud experience for the security industry for 20 years now, and have a very, very large, very dedicated brand loyalist user base that loves the product, loves the ease of the product. And because they're a sister company of ours, we work very closely with BriVO, and it just makes sense from a security standpoint. If you're going to be utilizing cloud-based access control, it's a great time to think about utilizing cloud-based video surveillance. And then because of the technology that's available through the cloud, it's a seamless integration. It's not physical wire touching a wire, input, output. It's not going to require special engineering time to write that integration with SDKs, or to have driver sets that you have to pay for or maintain on an annual basis. You really, in my experience, which I've been doing this for a long time on the installer side, this is the easiest video to access control integration I've ever experienced. It essentially comes down to an email permission that you determine which cameras and who has access, and then that email becomes the key to integrating the two systems. It's very easy to do and very, very powerful. Swift Sensors is also a sister company of ours. Wireless sensor technology in the cloud. Very, very powerful applications used for automated monitoring of equipment, movement, temperatures, moving processes, stuff like that. Sensor technology really begins to define, the basis of how AI and machine learning can really begin to interpret the world that it is, or the world around it, and then how to maximize and make more efficient use of the space and the movement and the time. That all starts with that wireless sensor technology, and then having that wireless sensor technology in the cloud means that you're able to really leverage all of the benefits of cloud computing in order to provide all sorts of very powerful tools with the data that comes in from those sensors. And that includes things like receiving alerts or notifications, historical logging of certain events, and then utilizing all of the different analytics that are available through cloud computing. And again, they're going to integrate with Eagle Eye, probably easier than any other sensor technology or access, automated access technology that I can think of that I've personally been involved with. It really, again, comes down to that email login permission base. So very simple integration, very, very cool product between BriVO and Swift Sensors and Eagle Eye Networks VMS. You've kind of created this cloud ecosystem sitting on top of a really powerful API-based platform that allows you to expand your capabilities with your surveillance system beyond just the traditional usage for security and surveillance, but we can start looking at business efficiency and operational efficiency and how to optimize and improve those sorts of things. So I really appreciate everyone's time. This was intended to be a very short webinar. We do understand that everyone is very busy right now, and wanting to make sure that they're maximizing the usage of their time as best as possible. So we kept this short and sweet, but I also do want to leave plenty of time for questions. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat. Heather will be helping and assisting with that. But we do want to just talk about a couple of next steps before we get to those. We want to schedule some demos. We can walk through our platform. Heather will talk more about that in just a minute. You will receive some information following this webinar, and there will be a link in there for you to be able to view the recording or to share it. That's going to be really great. And then, of course, you can contact us. 512-473-0500 is the number to the HQ. sales@een.com is a really easy email address to reach out to the entire sales team. You can also send an email to se@een.com. That's the sales engineers group. If you're a reseller, or if you have questions on the technical aspects or some of the pre-sales design concepts, we welcome those questions, and we're here to help. Heather, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to you. Do you have any questions?
Yes, thanks so much, Jody, for the overview. We will be switching to Q&A now, so just as a reminder to everyone, please type your questions into the Q&A box of Zoom, and we'll answer them there. We have had a few questions come through, some really great ones, so I'll go ahead and start off with the first. What amount of upload bandwidth is required to upload video onto the cloud?
That is always a really good question. It's a tricky question because it is very dependent on what kind of video you're talking about. Every camera records a different type and amount of video than the camera right next to it. And there's a lot of things that have to be considered, like the motion activity. We call it duty cycle. So while I can't tell you exactly how much bandwidth you're going to need to get your video to the cloud, I can tell you that it's all based off of how much video is being recorded and what quality of video And then that will help us determine the speed that we need, whether it's going to be utilizing our bandwidth management system in order to schedule those uploads or manage the impact on the customer's network with a fixed amount or a certain percentage of utilization of the network. So we provide a lot of tools to really kind of fine tune exactly how we utilize the bandwidth that's available to get that video to the cloud, even if that means that the video is buffering locally for a short period of time and then hitting a schedule that it then uploads dramatically. Generally speaking, what we're looking at is the speed of the bit rate of the video in calculation with the percentage of actual motion activity occurring that is useful video for high definition storage. The preview stream, very low resolution, very low frame rate, very fast to the cloud, and that's one of the main components of why we're utilizing that low resolution substream. Is it makes the system very snappy and it gets to the cloud without any problems because it doesn't utilize very much bandwidth at all, which means that if something were to occur and you were for some reason to lose even your high resolution video, the speed at which the low resolution substream makes it to the cloud, which is being recorded 24/7, regardless of what subscription you are paying for, the speed that that video gets to the cloud on the substream is so quick that you have essentially real-time redundancy in the cloud with at least a low resolution substream. High resolution video, it's not quite as fast, but it moves up pretty quickly with the improvements that we're seeing in bandwidth in the area. But good question.
Right. So you're saying the question of what amount of upload bandwidth is required isn't really as important as the fact that we are really good at customizing our system to work with what's available for them.
Well, it is important, and it is a very good question. It's one of the most important questions that we ask for every conversation that we're having in regards to implementing a new Eagle Eye system. It's just a very hard question to answer in a general manner because a camera in the corner of the room recording with a certain dynamic lighting scenario is going to transmit a different amount of data than a camera in the corner of a different room that's dark or doesn't have a lot of activity. Generally speaking, you're looking at the bit rate of the camera multiplied by that duty cycle, and then that's going to give us an idea of how much bandwidth we need to be able to push that video to the cloud without any sort of risk of losing it or without degradation of quality.
Okay, thanks. Now on to our next question. To competitors that also offer cloud, what reason would cause a user to want cloud replication?
Well, I would, because I'm an Eagle Eye loyalist and I really believe in the product, I'm going to say that mainly because they can't do it the way we do it and probably not as well or as reliable, maybe not even as cost effective. But one of the main things that have to be considered is getting the video to the cloud is one thing, but what happens to that video or that data when it's in the cloud, and whose cloud is it in? Is this a large global company that doesn't just specialize in video surveillance cloud storage, but maybe just specializes in cloud storage with the ability to add video to it? That's a different type of cloud. And the way that the video is stored, the way that the video stays encrypted, the way that the video is accessed, who owns the video, what happens if something were to occur that required litigation for some reason. Those sorts of things need to be considered when you're talking about whose cloud infrastructure are you going to utilize. Eagle Eye Networks, we own and maintain our own cloud structure. We've built our data centers around the world. There's, I believe, 12 of them now around the world, and they are purpose built for cloud video surveillance. The way that we transmit the data, the way that we store the data, the way that we allow access to the data, and the way that we protect the data is all based about the idea of very high resolution, very long retention times, and a lot of access to that video at any moment. So it's very different in how the resources are accounted for and shared amongst the multi-tenant infrastructure that we have in place.
Definitely, I would agree with that. Another question here is, are there additional fees for cloud replication?
From Eagle Eye, no. You're going to pay for a small setup fee for your hardware, and then you're going to pay for your monthly or annual subscription cost determined by the resolution and retention period per camera that you require. You don't necessarily have to replicate all of the cameras on a system. One of the most popular uses for our cloud replication application is that a customer has one or two cameras that are either being required by law or because they feel it's important to their business, that those cameras are retained longer than the rest of the cameras on their system. Well, with a lot of the other systems, you're going to have to scale hardware to accommodate most all of the cameras, or it's going to be a little bit trickier in how you scale your hardware to only accommodate just these one or two cameras that you need to keep. And then if you're talking about retention times longer than 90 days, if you're talking a year, 2 year, or 5 years even, which we are seeing a lot being required in certain areas for legal reasons, the hardware that it would take to store video, high resolution video for that long is very expensive, would be a lot of hardware and would be a lot of something to maintain. So there's no extra fees other than what you're paying for already to have that video in the cloud. We're just going to give you a way that you can set the system up that's not going to impact an existing on-premises system. The cost that they may have for that, I can't speak to that. It doesn't seem like there should be any cost because we're not actually interfacing to that other system. We're simply interfacing to the cameras in conjunction with their interface to the cameras. So it should not really even put a burden or even be noticed by the other existing system. For Eagle Eye, no. The short answer to, or I guess that was the long answer to a good short question. The answer is no, there's not additional fees.
Yeah, there were a lot of really great points you made there. Thank you. Okay, and generally, do you think you can list a few traits that of a customer profile that would be a good fit for cloud replication?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the very first ones that come to mind is a customer that gets very excited about BriVO, and they see the benefit of having cloud access control, the ease of which the system's put in and then managed, and the ability, to have that mobile pass on your phone where you don't have to carry and maintain access credential fobs and cards, stuff like that. They see that, and then they get BriVO installed and they think, man, I wish now that I could just get a video feed over to this system. I've already got this existing system that we've paid for and invested a bunch of money in. And, it may be coming up on year 3 or 5 of that investment. And now we're already talking about what we're going to have to do to keep the maintenance up on it, or to upgrade some of the end of life hardware. I wish there was an easy way to get a camera added to that system and have it integrated to this BriVO. Well, for a very, very low cost upfront capital expense, you've got a little bit of hardware that you put in, and then just adding a couple of dollars onto the cost of that door, essentially. Now you've got Eagle Eye with the integration to BriVO easily applied, and now you're utilizing Eagle Eye in conjunction with BriVO. Specifically for cloud replication, it's generally, you have a good example is a large system that is being utilized daily by security personnel. So you have pan, tilt, zoom cameras. You have personnel that are looking at a large video display that maybe has dynamic feature sets where they can zoom in, or they can pull certain details from camera feeds in real time from their command and control center. All of that stuff's already in place, and the one thing that's missing is the ability to get past the air gap, so to speak, and get that video stored off site. Well, the cost of bringing in a cloud solution that can also do all of those existing things that your security personnel have already been trained on, are already comfortable for, already have even something as simple as the joystick console controller for a pan, tilt, zoom camera. They already have all of that stuff. It's not hard at all to introduce Eagle Eye Networks hardware, and then their experience, their management, their interface of the system stays exactly the same, But all that video is now being stored in the cloud, which means that it's being accessed from the cloud, which means that now, personnel or leadership or management, they're not necessarily going to have to be in the office to access video. If something were to occur, they can access that video in real time through the cloud. If something were to occur that they need to easily share that video, they're not looking at paying costs to a technician to come out and offload video. They're not looking at, having to make sure that the one security guard that works the certain shift during the day that knows how to access the system and pull the video off onto a thumb drive. What's his schedule? Is he at work? Is he available? Because we need this now. They can just access it right through the cloud.
All right, thanks. And for this question here, for someone who has a question about compatibility with older analog TVI or CVI systems, what response would you give them to find that out?
Yeah, so you always want to reach out to your sales engineers, especially when it comes with questions regarding compatibility on third-party technology or other systems. We provide a list of compatibility on our website at een.com/cameras. Even if it is an encoder that you're talking about, like TVI or CVI encoder, if it's a compatible device, it will be listed on there. If it's not a compatible device, it doesn't mean that it can't be supported. It means that you just want to send the sales engineers a spec sheet of the device that you're considering, and we'll review it with you and let you know whether we feel like it's a strong candidate for support. We make the support very easy. If it does indeed look like it's a strong candidate, it's a click of a button within the Eagle Eye dashboard to request that support, and then that automatically goes to our camera support engineers, and they begin that support process. And then when it's completed, they push that support to the bridge, and everything's happening with minimal amount of user interfacing required.
All right. I think that's good. We had some really great questions today. Thanks everyone for the engagement. That's all we're going to cover for now. But if you have any remaining questions that we didn't get to answer, please reach out. This is our phone number here and our email. And we're always available and here to help you. We have also a really responsive chat on our website, and you can check that out too. After this, you will also be receiving an email from us with the webinar recording and more information about cloud backup for you. Thank you so much, Jody, for being our presenter today.
Thank you, Heather, and thank you everyone for attending. I'm looking through the participant list now. I see a lot of people that I always enjoy having conversations with. So please keep in contact, keep calling us. If you need anything at all, the sales engineering team, we are one of your main resources for all things Eagle Eye Networks. And we can help put you in touch with the right people for BriVO and Swift sensors as well. So always happy to help out, and look forward to talking with everyone one-on-one again.
All right. Thanks, everyone, and we look forward to hearing from you.